The movie begins with Maddalena, a young woman who's constantly mocked by everyone around her because she's a little overweight. Even her own mother favors her sister and keeps telling her, lay off the cake and eat something that'll help you lose weight, fatty. At work, nobody really respects her, except for Donato, the only one who treats her decently. Maddalena works as a ghostwriter in a publishing house, writing books on behalf of wealthy people who want to look like authors without doing the work. Because Donato was the only person who showed her kindness at work, Maddalena fell for him. But Donato, a married and manipulative man, wanted something completely different from her, something she'd never done before. When he realized how innocent she was, he told her, "I've never met anyone like you before." She asked, "What do you mean? Someone like me, Donato?" And he replied, "Someone so focused on her career, talented and driven, but who doesn't think about relationships at all." From his words, Maddalena understood that he meant she wasn't sexually appealing, the thing most men supposedly want, and that she'd never succeed in love. To make things worse, when the moment between them fell apart, Donato simply said, "I'm gonna head to bed now. Do me a favor and close the door on your way out." Heartbroken, she went back to her apartment and told her roommate the night was a disaster. Donato doesn't even find me attractive. He even suggested I watch some romantic tutorials online to learn how to be better at, but her roommate was too busy scrolling on his phone to care. Frustrated, she grabbed a piece of cake he had baked, loved the taste, and took the rest with her. He called after her, "Don't eat all of that by yourself. It's loaded with marijuana." Maddalena ignored him, kept eating the weed cake, and started Googling how to be sexy and make any man want you. Before long, the marijuana kicked in, and she began hallucinating, imagining Christina, a women's confidence coach, talking to her through her laptop. Overwhelmed, she fainted. The next day at work, she tried to pitch her boss a new book idea that she thought women would love, but her boss cut her off coldly. "If you want to be like me and actually matter, you need to work on yourself first. Anyway, what are you even doing here? Go put coffee in the meeting room before our client arrives." While they were sitting in the meeting room, Lara, the famous influencer, walked in with her manager. They asked Lara what her book was going to be about, and she said, "It's about my life story. All the struggles I've been through, like when my nails broke or when the internet cut out in the middle of a live stream and all that." Even though she sounded shallow and ridiculous, no one wanted to lose someone as popular as her, since her name would make the publishing house more famous. The manager told her, "We have the best ghostwriter who can write the book for you, and your name will go on the cover. We'll make sure it reaches a huge audience and sells more copies than you ever dreamed of. We just need Maddalena to spend a day with you, get to know you, and learn everything you want the book to say." Donato supported Maddalena and told the influencer, "You're about to work with the most talented and charming writer you'll ever meet." Feeling grateful, Maddalena left the meeting, called her roommate, and said, "Donato stood up for me. I think I should give him another chance. He's been supporting me since my first day here." Her roommate replied, "Then maybe you should flirt with him a little." Later, while Maddalena was in Donato's office, an important paper slipped under his desk. When she bent down to pick it up, something strange happened. She suddenly saw Christina, the same confidence coach from her hallucination, standing right in front of her. Maddalena froze. She asked, "Are you real or just in my head?" Donato, confused, asked, "Who are you talking to?" She quickly covered it up, saying, "No one. I was just thinking out loud." Christina smiled and said, "You need me, Maddalena. I'm going to show up everywhere until you learn to believe in yourself and become the woman you're meant to be." Terrified, Maddalena ran to the restroom, only to find Christina there too. Maddalena gasped, "This has to be the weed cake. I'm hallucinating." But Christina said calmly, "No, sweetheart. We need to talk and fix what's holding you back." Maddalena started panicking again. "You're not real. You're just in my head. I don't see anything. I don't see you." Christina told her, "Come with me," and suddenly pulled her out of the bathroom into a strange, empty world, a place with no signs of life. When Maddalena asked, "Where are we?" Christina replied, "This is your self-respect, darling. The part of you that's been left to rot from lack of use." Out of nowhere, Maddalena remembered that her sister was throwing a gender reveal party in a few days. At the party, while she was sitting quietly, her mother handed her a slice of pineapple and said, "Eat this. It'll help you get rid of that belly of yours. Look at your sister. See how smart and capable she is?" Maddalena sighed. "I already know what you're going to say, Mom," but her mother went on. "Did you see your ex's fiancé? You silly girl. How could you lose a man like that? Every woman in town wants him." Maddalena rolled her eyes and said, "His fiancé? Mom, that guy's immature. He's not the type for a serious relationship." Her mom shot back, "Just lose some weight, make yourself look decent, and maybe he'll dump her and come back to you." Maddalena finally snapped, Who said I even want him back, Mom? At that moment, an older man named Sugar Gato leaned toward her mother and said, "Why don't you show me where the bathroom is?" Her mother, clearly flattered, got up with a smile to lead the way. Before cutting the cake to reveal the baby's gender, Maddalena's sister stood up and said, "I'd like to take a moment to congratulate my sister's ex on his engagement, and I hope she gets herself together and finds someone too." Then they cut the cake, revealing that the baby would be a boy, and everyone cheered excitedly. Later, Maddalena stood alone, bored and distant, until Leo came up to her and said, "Want to get some fresh air?" He lit a cigarette and offered it to her, but she laughed. "No thanks. I don't smoke, though I did eat a marijuana cake once." Then she sighed. "I'm the black sheep of my family. I don't look like any of them." Leo smiled and handed her a drink. "Here, have a sip. It'll calm your nerves." He introduced himself, explaining that he'd been friends with her brother-in-law for years. Maddalena laughed. "Funny, he's tried to set me up with every one of his friends, except you." Leo shrugged. "That's because I've been single for so long, they probably gave up on me ever being in a relationship." Maddalena grinned. "So you're a black sheep too, huh, Leo?" Then looking back at the party, she said, "Good thing my sister's baby is a boy. If it were a girl, I'd feel bad for her. Mom and Grandma would make her life miserable, forcing her to eat certain foods, to stay skinny, to be perfect, just so one day she could get married after 1,000 boring dates with awful guys." Leo told her, "You should come to the Fruticana Casino sometime. I do stand-up comedy shows there every Thursday." On her way home from her sister's party, Maddalena imagined Lara speaking to her from a billboard, asking, "What do you really want?" Maddalena replied, "I want to be attractive." Then Christina appeared and asked, "And what makes you think you're not beautiful already?" Maddalena sighed, "Because the one man who treated me kindly at work didn't find me attractive." Christina smiled and transported her into a kind of virtual reality, saying, "Look at all these women. They're all different, yet they're all beautiful and desired in their own way. Every woman has something that makes her shine, Maddalena. It's not about what others see in you. It's about what you see in yourself." The next day, Maddalena asked her roommate to come shopping with her, and she picked out a stunning dress that looked incredible on her. Christina, the sassy ghost, cheered her on. "Yes, baby. Show them that hidden beauty and charm. That dress is going to eat them alive. You're a goddess, Maddalena. But remember, you have to love yourself before you expect anyone else to love you." When she stepped out wearing the dress, every man in the store turned to look at her. Her roommate whistled and said, "Wow, you look amazing. But what's the occasion?" Maddalena smiled. "I'm going out with you and your friends tonight. We're going to have some fun." But when she got to his friend's place, she was a little disappointed. "I thought we were going to a nightclub or something," she said. Her roommate laughed. "Nah, we just hang out here and play PES 6 until morning." He introduced her to the group, and one of them exclaimed, "Bro, where were you hiding this beauty all this time?" They invited her to stay and play, but Christina's voice interrupted sharply. "Oh no, honey, we are not staying here. You're going to Leo's show. You need to show that man what real beauty looks like." So Maddalena politely excused herself and left. She went straight to the Fruticana Casino, where Leo was already on stage doing his stand-up act. He was talking about gender reveal parties, joking about how ridiculous they could be. And then he said to the audience, "Actually, I met this amazing girl at one of those parties, Maddalena, and she made me realize how unfairly women get treated. Society pressures them nonstop to look perfect all the time, instead of encouraging them to grow, to evolve, to love themselves." But at the same time, Leo continued on stage, we should also teach women to love themselves no matter what, not to let their worth depend on someone else's opinion. Otherwise, they end up being victims of shallow dates with guys like me, the kind who go on stage every Thursday just to make people laugh. The crowd laughed, and he added, "Still, I'm better than those so-called influencers who spend their whole day begging for donations on live streams." After the show, a guy approached Maddalena and said, "It's your first time here, right?" She smiled and replied, "Yeah, it is." He grinned. "Then how about we go somewhere quiet? Have a drink, just the two of us." As she was ordering a drink, Leo called over to the bartender, "Make that two, and put them on my tab." The bartender smirked. "Your tab? You mean the one you haven't paid in months?" Leo laughed awkwardly. "Do you really have to expose me in front of my guests?" He then told Maddalena, "Go wait for me outside. I'll grab my stuff and join you." But while she was waiting, she overheard that same guy laughing with his friends, saying, "I managed to chat up that chubby girl from inside. Totally fooled her. I mean, come on, if she were a decent girl, she wouldn't be wearing that kind of dress in a place like this." Before things could get worse, Leo showed up, grabbed her by the hand, and said, "Come on, let's get out of here." He led her away from the group of jerks. Once they were alone, Leo turned to her and said gently, "You know, you should really be a writer. The way you spoke at your sister's party, your words were so powerful." Maddalena smiled sadly. "I already am a ghostwriter. I write books for other people who take all the credit." Leo asked, Haven't you ever written one for yourself? She sighed. I wish, but it's not as easy as you think. You need followers, a name, some kind of fame, or else no one will buy your book. All your hard work just disappears. He grinned. Then come perform on stage with me. Build your own audience. She laughed nervously. No way. My place is behind a computer screen, not under the spotlight. Leo chuckled. All right, then tell me, what's your type when it comes to men? Maddalena smiled, thinking for a second. There's this old character I used to love. His name was Wise John the Jealous. He was protective of his woman. Leo burst out laughing. Wait, what kind of name is that? Wise John the Jealous? That's such a weird pick. She playfully rolled her eyes. You don't get it. He was passionate and protective. That's what we women love. A man who actually cares. Leo smiled and told her, you've got a great way with words. Seriously, you'd kill it on stage. But since you don't want to perform, I'll just steal your ideas. Who knows? Maybe they'll pick me for a TV gig and my dad will finally stop being ashamed of me. Maddalena looked at him curiously. You and your dad argue a lot? Leo laughed bitterly. Worse than that. He doesn't even see me as anything. He's the reason I started doing stand-up in the first place. He sent me to this private school where everyone bullied me nonstop. One day, after getting beaten up, I grabbed the mic and started saying random nonsense just to cope, and people laughed. That's how it all started. While they were talking, Donato texted Maddalena, telling her to come by the office the next day to discuss Lara's book. So she excused herself from Leo, saying she had to get up early for work. The next morning at the office, Donato smirked and said, "What's up? Did your washing machine break or something?" Maddalena frowned. "What do you mean?" He grinned. "It's the first time I've seen you wearing a short skirt." She smiled and replied confidently, "I'm just changing up my style. That's all." Donato nodded approvingly. "Good for you. I scheduled a meeting today for you to visit Lara at her place and figure out exactly what she wants to write about. If you need anything, I'm here." Then the bossy manager barged in and snapped, "No drama, please. We need this book done as soon as possible." Later, Maddalena arrived at Lara's house and told her, "I'm here to help you prepare for the book launch event. You'll need to be ready to answer the press confidently." Lara nervously asked, "Do you really think I'll be able to speak well in front of people? I always ramble when I talk." Maddalena reassured her with a warm smile. "Don't worry, I'll be there with you. We'll practice together. You've got this." As they chatted, Lara opened up about her past, how her parents had divorced when she was little, and her grandmother, who raised her, was now battling an incurable disease. When Maddalena left and stepped into the elevator, Christina appeared again and rolled her eyes. "This whole elevator in the mansion thing is so over the top." Maddalena laughed softly. "She's earned it. She's rich, famous. She can live however she wants." Christina shook her head. "All that money doesn't change the fact that she's living in a cage, sweetheart." Before Maddalena could respond, Christina whisked her away into another surreal world to explain her point. In that strange, dreamlike space, she said, "Every woman who lets society dictate how she should live ends up like a doll in a box, waiting for a man to come along and choose her, to take her out and give her value." Christina then made Maddalena imagine herself sitting inside a cardboard box, waiting for Donato to pick her out from a pile of other women, just to teach her that a woman must love and choose herself before allowing any man to define her worth. To build her confidence, Christina encouraged her to create a dating profile and start going on dates, not to find love, but to rediscover her value and comfort in her own skin. One day, Maddalena attended an important company event. The moment she arrived, she felt deflated. Every woman there was stunning, perfectly dressed, and confident. Christina whispered in her ear, "Why are you still comparing yourself to other women? We already talked about this. Every woman has her own kind of beauty. Don't make us look bad, baby. Stop giving men the power to decide who's beautiful." At the party, Maddalena noticed a handsome, well-known author standing with Lara, surrounded by women swooning over him. Lara turned to Maddalena and said, "Donato gave me this thing. What am I supposed to do with it?" Maddalena replied patiently, "It's for shooting promotional stories for the book before its release." Lara waved her hand dismissively. "Ugh, I don't have time for that right now. I need to go get a pedicure, like now. You're good at this stuff. Just summarize what I should say, and I'll post it later." While Maddalena was organizing things, a confident woman named Malika approached her and said quietly, "I know you're the one who actually wrote this book, not Lara. If you ever decide to write your own, my publishing company would love to sign you." Maddalena's eyes widened. "A book with my name on it?" Malika smiled. "Of course, your name, because you're talented and you deserve the recognition." Later that evening, Maddalena found the same handsome author struggling to open the door to his hotel room. She took the key from him, opened it easily, and handed it back with a smile. He grinned. Guess I owe you one now. How can I pay you back? Christina's mischievous voice popped into Maddalena's head, whispering, Go on, girl, take what you want. Have a little fun for once. But Maddalena ignored her and instead invited the author to attend Lara's upcoming book launch for publicity purposes. When the day of the launch came, Maddalena arrived at the venue only to realize her name wasn't even on the guest list. The security guard refused to let her in, and she was seconds away from causing a scene when Donato stepped in, telling security, She's with us. Let her through. He smiled as she walked in, completely unaware that this event would soon change everything for her. And that's when everything exploded. During the group photo with the press, Lara asked for Maddalena to stand beside her, saying she was the one who had worked the hardest on the project. But the arrogant, bossy manager immediately objected, sneering, Are you serious? Look at what she's wearing. Look at her body. She can't be in the photo. Maddalena heard every word. Shocked by the manager's cruelty, something inside her finally snapped. After years of enduring insults about her looks and body, she'd had enough. She turned to the manager and said loudly, You know what? I don't even want to be in a photo with a hypocritical piece of trash like you. Donato tried to calm her down. Come on, don't make a scene. But Maddalena glared at him. No, you're the ones making a scene. I'm sick of all this. You're ashamed of how I look, and you've ignored all my ideas for years just because I don't fit your beauty standards. Do I really have to be skinny and perfect for you to put my name on the books I actually write, while others get all the credit for my work? The room went silent. Cameras flashed. Then, in front of everyone, journalists, guests, and her entire company, Maddalena gave the speech of her life. I'm done destroying myself to please people who will never be pleased. I'm done starving just to fit into someone else's idea of beauty. Anyone who wants to write a book should write it themselves. The manager, red with embarrassment, shouted, Get out! You're fired! Later, at another family party her mother threw for her sister's baby, Maddalena arrived looking exhausted. Her mother took her phone away, saying, Enough with that phone. Be present for once. Live with us a little. As they walked to the venue, Maddalena started to slow down, out of breath. Her mother scolded, Are you going to stay like this forever? You need to change. Learn to face your weaknesses. Maddalena stopped walking and said quietly but firmly, And why didn't you teach me that, Mom? Instead of tearing me down my whole life, calling me fat, telling me what to eat, what not to eat, you made me hate my own reflection. You made me hate myself, Mom. That's on you. Her brother-in-law, trying to ease the tension, introduced Leo to her mother, saying he and Maddalena had already met at a previous party. After the short blessing for the baby, Leo leaned close and whispered, Come with me. I've got a surprise for you. He took her by the hand, led her away from the noisy crowd, and told her to close her eyes. When she opened them again, they were standing in front of a statue of Kadri the Fierce, the legendary character Maddalena adored as a child, her symbol of strength and defiance. As they stood there admiring the sheep, they noticed a black ewe and a black ram standing apart from the rest of the flock. Maddalena smiled and said playfully, See those two black sheep? Even they can start a little flock of their own. The comment slipped out naturally, a quiet reflection of how she saw herself and Leo, two misfits who somehow fit perfectly together. Then, jokingly, she added, Guess that means we're both outcasts. Maybe we should just get married and start our own herd. To ease the sudden awkwardness of her own words, she quickly changed the subject. I'm sure you'll make it, Leo. One day your dad will see your videos and be proud of you. When they returned home, Maddalena's sister handed her phone back and said, Please, stop fighting with Mom all the time. And be careful with Leo. I don't fully trust him. Maddalena unlocked her phone and froze. Her social media had exploded. She had thousands of new followers overnight. The video of her emotional outburst at the company event had gone viral, spreading across platforms. People were calling her brave, authentic, inspiring. Soon after, Donato texted her, asking her to come to the office the next morning. Urgent. The next day, she ran into Lara and her manager, who told her, We've hired a new ghostwriter to finish the book. Maddalena just smiled calmly. I figured you would. It's fine. Lara, now friendly and oddly supportive, said, Forget them. You're famous now. I'm throwing a party, and you have to come. Oh, and the handsome writer will be there. He asked for your number, so I gave it to him. When Maddalena arrived at the office, the bossy manager greeted her with a fake smile and said, All these gifts came for you. Brands are reaching out because your videos are trending like crazy. Make sure to tag them all when you post. I always knew you had potential. That's why I pushed you so hard to bring out your best. Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice. Now listen, Maddalena, we want you to write a new book. Something about self-confidence, self-love, the stuff you said at that event. You're trending right now. People are hungry for your story. There's no better time to capitalize on this. Before Maddalena could respond, Christina's voice echoed faintly in her head. Don't fall for it, honey. She's a snake. She just wants to use you now that you're famous. That evening, Maddalena returned home, excited to tell her roommate the good news, that she was finally going to write her own book, one with her name on the cover. But when she opened the door, she found him packing his things. He told her he was moving out to live with a friend. For a moment, she stood there silently, surrounded by boxes and the faint glow of her phone, the symbol of her newfound fame. Realizing that while everything in her life was changing, she was still standing at the edge of something unknown. Maddalena's popularity exploded across social media. Her stories, ads, and posts were everywhere. She was glowing, confident, and finally getting attention. When she went to Lara's party, the handsome author, the one all the women swooned over, approached her and said, "I've been texting you. Why didn't you reply? I wanted to take you out for dinner." But Maddalena wasn't really interested. She was using the moment to make Donato jealous. As she chatted with the author, her phone buzzed. A message from Leo. "My show starts in an hour. You'd better be there." Before she could reply, Donato came over with a smirk and said, "So now you only hang out with the young, good-looking writers, huh?" Maddalena smiled. "Guess I'm not your type anymore." He leaned closer. "You were, baby. But now, you're super wow." She raised an eyebrow. "And your wife?" He waved his hand dismissively. "Oh, hush. She's out of the house, left for a few days to clear her head." Later that night, Maddalena let him drive her home. When they reached his place, Christina appeared beside her, furious. "What are you doing, Maddalena? This is not the man I wanted you to become." In an instant, she pulled Maddalena back into that strange dream world, the same barren desert that once represented her lost self-respect. But this time, Maddalena looked around and said, "See, it's not a desert anymore. It's springtime. Everything's fine." Christina shook her head sadly. "No, sweetheart, it's not spring. It's a prison now, surrounded by walls. Your self-worth can't come from what someone else thinks of you. It has to come from inside you." Maddalena frowned. "Why are you so upset?" Christina replied sharply. "Because you still don't get it. True peace comes from loving yourself, not from being loved by someone else." Maddalena snapped. "You're just scared that if I finally feel happy, I won't need you anymore, and you'll disappear forever." Christina's face fell. Hurt by her words, she didn't reply. She simply vanished. After spending what she thought was a sweet evening with Donato, Maddalena noticed something on her way out of his bedroom. His wife's clothes still hanging neatly in the closet. Her face dropped. "Didn't you say she left the house?" she asked quietly. Donato shrugged. "She just went away for a couple of days. She'll be back." Maddalena stared at him, disappointed. "You need to change, Donato. You shouldn't be cheating on your wife. You're better than this." She leaned in, kissed him lightly on the cheek, and walked out. Later that night, she rushed to the Fruticana casino, hoping to catch Leo's show, but she arrived too late. The place was nearly empty. The lights dimmed. Leo was packing up his gear, visibly upset. Maddalena smiled softly. "Hey, how about a couple of drinks to make it up to you?" Leo shook his head, forcing a tired smile. "No. Maddalena, I'm calling it a night. It's late." He left, and she stood there alone, realizing she'd missed the one person who actually cared. Days passed, and eventually Maddalena's sister gave birth. Maddalena rushed to the hospital, where she found her mother knitting clothes for the newborn. Her mother looked up and said softly, "We mothers are like this. No matter how harsh we seem, we always love our children." Maddalena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Mom, for all the awful things I said. I didn't mean to hurt you." Her mother smiled gently. "When I scolded you, I only wanted one thing, to see you happy. That's all. I raised you and your sister on my own, went through a lot of pain. I just didn't want either of you to suffer the way I did. I wanted both of you to have men who would take care of you, so I could feel at peace knowing you were safe." Maddalena nodded. "I understand, Mom, but happiness, my happiness, doesn't have to look the same as yours." Her mother took her hand. "Whatever path you choose, just remember, I love you, and I'm proud of you. Any man who gets to have you in his life will be the luckiest man alive." Maddalena then went in to see her sister, who was exhausted and starving. Her sister grinned and said, "Go live your life, Maddalena. You're still young." Maddalena laughed. "So are you." Her sister shook her head. "No, honey, once you've had a baby, you're not young anymore, especially when it's your second. And seriously, why did Mom insist on naming him Jafar after Grandpa? He's my baby, not hers." In the following weeks, Maddalena poured her heart into her book. Instead of signing a contract with her old publishing house, the one that had always used her, she signed with Malika's company. The famous writer who once tried to charm her texted again, asking her out for a third time. But this time, Maddalena simply replied that she wasn't interested. When her book was finally finished, she held a small launch event. Standing before the audience, she smiled and began. "A year ago, if someone had asked me to introduce myself, I wouldn't have known what to say. I would have just said, 'My name is Maddalena. I'm 30 years old, and there's nothing I really like about myself. But today, everything is different. I've learned what self-respect truly means." She glanced at Leo in the crowd and continued, "In this book, you'll meet many people who helped me change my perspective, who taught me to love myself for who I am. One of them is the kindest man I've ever met, the man who laughed at my silly jokes and believed in my talent even when I didn't, the man who changed my life and pushed me to do things I never thought I could, including writing my own book. Then she smiled at him warmly and said, "So tonight, Leo, let's go out and figure out how these two black sheep are going to start their own little flock. What do you say, my woolly one?" The film ends with Maddalena finally thriving, her career blooming, her book a success, and her heart at peace as she walks hand in hand with Leo, the two black sheep who found their place together.